And were those Lamborghinis? I can't remember now.
Looks like an alpha male.
Bugatti.
Bugatti?
You were in the right country. They're Italian.
When I lived in Costa Rica, lived up in the mountains, my neighbor had a Lamborghini.
In the mountains.
But it was a tractor.
I think of anything I've seen. I don't know. Seen some pretty big commercial trucks, made by Volvo. I mean, they do semis.
Yeah, Ford went out of the big truck business and bought Volvo and put their name on the Volvo trucks.
It's impossible to keep up with, but
How people buy and sell their businesses.
I remember one of the James Bond films, though. Whatever the overlap was, there were a lot of Fords. I think he was still driving, an Aston Martin or it would have been Casino Royale, I think, in 2007 or 8.
That's my wife's solution to everything. Just bang it. Just hit it. I don't think that works.
Cold fried chicken and water Our fraternity house at school, the two cooks, Willie and Hazel. I mean, it's amazing I'm alive because all we had was fried stuff. In the morning, they would serve eggs. They slid onto your plate. You went like that, they'd go across.
Push it down.
That greasy. I mean, everything was bacon. Yeah. Willie and Hazel. They were great.
Page 7.
Yeah, that's right. Nothing but sweet tea.
Yeah.
Every meal.
All right, because I'm going to head home.
All right.
Just a little.
Take care of your pup.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
I remember when I left.
High five. No?
I'm used to having you right there. That's just for no reason. We're not live streaming right now.
Oh, okay. You know that nice introductory prayer we do in the morning, create me a clean heart, O Lord. I almost know it, except when my mouth's a little full. Is that a rule that we have to do it, that you do it and we just amen it? The reason I like
Oh, you want to say it together?
Lutheran Church does it together. Same one.
Well, here's what I always do with these things. This is what I did with the
Yeah.
prayer that you don't like. We put it in during Lent.
Yeah.
And then the next year we put it back in during Lent. And then we never took it out.
I still, no matter how much you preach about it, I still have to skip that line.
It's just like my dad. He would not say the Catholic Church.
And you couldn't explain to him big C
Couldn't
and little
explain
c?
to him. Nope. I don't care. I'm not saying it.
Did you give him a dictionary that would tell him what the word
He wanted to say
Catholic
it. He
meant?
didn't care.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes you can't reason with people.
Me included.
Yeah, no, he just refused.
Now, once in a while on that prayer, once in a while I'll get going and say, oh my gosh, I forgot it.
Oh, I said it. Oh, no.
Once in a while it slips through, but but I love that, create me a clean heart, O Lord.
There's
Renew
a
right spirit within me, cast
really
me not away from thy presence.
contemporary worship song,
It has that.
Creating Me a Clean Heart. It uses the same verses. Really cool song.
Yeah. Well, that
You'll like it.
those two, the first two verses are also in morning prayer.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had food all over me.
Bill,
I'm a disaster.
Bill has food all over him. And he says it's not dirty.
It was those clams. I was trying to.
I couldn't get him all over him.
I know, but I insisted on it, and at great cost to my clothing. Okay, we're starting. Hey, Grant. All right, y'all ready to start? All right, we all good? All right, it's a fun topic. It's really fun. And you're all going to relate to it. And maybe some of you will not like it. But take it for what it is. There's a lot of truth in what he's going to say. If you don't know by now, I'm using a book. A lot of the things that I put up here are in the book, and they're just ideas that I think are really helpful to be able to kind of apply to our normal kind of life. So the idea behind the book, though, is that as we move away from traditional religion, that traditional religion has given people, particularly in the United States, what we would refer to as intrinsic value, meaning, and purpose. That you don't have to manufacture it. You just have it. It's yours. It's great. Once you remove religion, what you end up doing unintentionally is you remove intrinsic value, meaning, and purpose. So now that creates, and I'm just going through the two slides that I've memorized because I do it every week. What that does is it creates a cultural crisis because now they have to find meaning, value, and purpose in life. When before we didn't have to, because if you're a Christian and you're in Christ, then you immediately have that. You have it because you were created in the image of God. And that is all the meaning, value, and purpose that you need. You don't need anything else. But if you do not affirm any religion, or particularly we're talking about Christianity, but most religions will provide this in some fashion. Once you remove that and you end up moving into a kind of non-religious culture, what you end up with is a need for value, meaning, and purpose. I compare it to hope all the time because it's very similar in the fact that you don't think about it until you don't have it. And the moment that you're hopeless, that's the moment that you realize how you cannot live without hope. And the same thing is true with meaning and value in our life, that the moment that you don't have it, that's the moment that you realize, I really need that. And so you've got 3 whole generations. And this is why I'm talking about this being a cultural crisis, because I'm not talking about your culture, I'm not talking about my culture. I'm talking about the cultures behind that, which is the dominant culture right now. The millennials and the generation after them, that is the dominant culture in the United States. And that culture doesn't have any built-in meaning, value, and purpose, so they have to find it somewhere else. They have to create it because it's not intrinsic, because who knows how they got here. So you go through, and what we're looking at are a variety of areas where different people have found that meaning, value, and purpose. And one of the areas that we're looking at is the area of technology. And before I actually get into the area of technology, I'm going to pray. So please pray with me once again. Lord, we come before you and we ask that as we gather to talk about what it means to be a Christian and what it means to not be a Christian, that you would guide this conversation, that you would convict us where we need convicted, and where we don't, we don't. And we just give you this time. In your name, amen. All right, so I already went through the first 2 slides. So I do want to create, on these Wednesdays, I do want to create more of an opportunity to go back and forth conversation. So there are 4 points that I want to really make here. And the first point that I want to make is a little bit, it's not practical. It's more theory. And so if you don't get that part, listen to the other 3 parts, and it's going to fill it in for you, I hope. But it is more theory. So, but I did want to start with my dad. My father and I had very different opinions about phones. And my father used to refer to this as my magic box. And he used to say, well, like when we had a question about something, he'd say, well, why don't you just ask your magic box? And I would. But before these, my father believed that when the phone rang, you answered it. And that was the way that he lived. When the phone rings, you answer it. That's the general rule. You do everything you can to answer that phone. And his reasoning behind it was that if somebody took the time to call you, then you ought to have the decency to take the time to answer the phone. Anybody in here like that? Used to be. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't. This is before caller ID. This is before cell phones. This is before all of that. So if the phone rang, you answered it. That sound reasonable? We're talking about like the 80s. Yeah? You know, way back. Talking about the 80s. When the phone rings, you answer it. Now, I have a very different idea. And what's that? That is not my dad, but he kind of looks like my dad a little bit. He's got the same haircut for sure. But I have a very different idea. And a lot of it was that my father could be in the middle of dinner. He could be in the middle of a conversation with you. He could be in the middle of hanging drywall where he's holding it up. And if the phone rang, the drywall is going to go back on the ground. He's going to go answer the phone. And who knows who's on the other end of the phone? This could be an hour conversation. He could have people over. He could have a party where all of you are invited. And the phone's going to ring. And he's going to answer it. And then he's going to talk to whoever's on the phone for however long. That's what he did. Now, for me, I do things a little bit differently. I insisted that I'm not going to be a slave to the phone. And when the phone rings, I'm not going to jump up and answer the phone. If I'm free, I'll do it. But if I'm not gonna jump up and do it. Now, the reality is that I was right. And that's just true. It's just universal truth. I was right, he was wrong. Because when I am in a conversation with Kay and the phone rings, and I immediately stop my conversation with Kay and I go over and I answer the phone, and then I talk on the phone for 15 minutes to the person on the phone, what am I communicating to Kay? Not important. If I'm sitting down at dinner with my family and the phone rings and I get up and I answer it and my family sits at the table and they eat and then I've got to go back and finish eating all by myself, what am I communicating to my family? Not important. So I was right. Okay? Do you hear that? I was right. I was right. Okay. For once in my life, I was right. Okay, so I was right. But my high horse has collapsed. And my high horse collapsed because I am a slave to this. I am definitely a slave to this. Now, the phone? No. I could care less about the phone. In fact, if it came with a feature that it didn't even have a phone, I would seriously consider opting into that feature. No, I do not care about the phone. I still don't answer the phone. If you've called me, you know I still don't answer my phone. Best way to get in touch with me is call Deanna. I am a slave to having the internet in my pocket. That's what I'm a slave to. That I can carry around the internet wherever I go, and I can be on it wherever I go. That's what I'm a slave to. I don't care about the phone. I don't care about texting. I don't care about any of that. I care about the internet. So what I did not like in my father in previous generations, I have become in this generation. When there are things that happen on my phone, the entire world pauses, at least for me. So if this thing starts dinging, I might be talking to you, but I'm not here. I'm trying to figure out what's dinging, what just happened, and that's what I'm doing, and I don't think that I'm alone. Anybody want to join my boat? No? I know Jim Simmons is not in my boat because he's still rolling flip phone. In fact, Jim, I was hoping you were here because the author of this book, he starts out this chapter by telling you a story of him going into the Apple store, turning over his smartphone, and asking for a flip phone, and then all the reaction that he gets. But the reason that he did it was the same thing that I just talked about, that he could not handle having the internet in his pocket at all times. So he traded it in. I'm not there. So I'm still doing it.
So when you say come over, we'll talk. I'll get you there.
I don't want to be there. I know it's the right place to be. I just don't want to be there.
So what are you interrupted by on your phone? Emails? Or do you have...
Okay, so for me, My phone dings a lot. So during COVID.
Email.
Okay. During COVID, my son Cohen and I started a business. And so we sell cards on eBay. My phone dings all the time. We also just recently started doing videos on YouTube. So it dings for YouTube all the time. It dings for emails all the time. I mean, it's always going, every notification on here is an alert to me that something is going on that I need to pay attention to. Yes, you can. Do people silence them?
Yes. I don't
Okay.
have anything.
You don't have any dinging?
She has all of her
I have them all
notifications silenced.
silenced.
My phone
All
rings
right.
too. My phone rings, but
Mine does too.
that's it.
Yeah.
Nobody calls me.
My phone. Yeah.
Well, tomorrow we'll all be calling you.
Let me have your number, I'll call you.
My phone doesn't ring, it just dings. So, I'll walk you through this because even if your phone doesn't ding, I'm still going to get you. Yeah, and that's worse. It's still alerting you constantly. Like, for example,
Talk about Siri.
can't hear any dings, can't feel any dings. You try that.
Tell them what happened over the
When it's on your wrist, it's just on your wrist. It's with you, always.
Tell them what happened over the altar with Siri.
Oh,
Yeah, me, I do too.
Yeah,
answered
we were saying
My
we were saying the
notifications
Lord's
on.
Prayer up at the table, and Carol's phone, Carol's watch started going off, and it said, "I do not know the Father."
Was that Siri?
We're trying to hold it together up there. I'm like, what in the world is happening?
That was Siri, right?
And you know what? I think it was Sarah Camarucci, and I'm blaming Sarah. Because, you know, she's like 16, she's a teenager with all the stuff going on. It's not Sarah at all, it's the deacon.
I gave her the gospel the other day. She's okay.
Okay, so now she knows the Father.
We're still trying
All
to
right.
figure out how she comes on. How does she just all of a sudden show up?
Here's something that sounds like this.
I don't know.
It just randomly comes on, you know. Who knows? I've become a servant to that which was designed to serve me. It was supposed to make my life easier, and now I've actually, you know, submit to it. And so most people do this, though. And I know it because most of you have sat in my office at some point, and in doing so, your phone went off. And when it does, you immediately reach into your bag or wherever it is, and you say, "Excuse me a minute." And then you check it, and then you check back into the conversation. Happens at least twice a week in my office. Yeah? So you do it, I do it. We do these things. So let's go through, let's look at it. The ding, and the moment that my phone dings, I unintentionally reach for my phone. I don't even think about it. I just do this. If I'm sitting at dinner with somebody, and I will be sitting there and I'll be talking to you, I will, for no reason at all, open my phone, turn it on, look at it, and then close it back up. Just in case I silence the dinger. That I've got to make sure that there's no dings happening, and I'm unaware of the dings. And I'll just do it. And I don't even think about it. Michelle calls me out on it all the time. She'll say, "What are you doing?" And to be honest with you, most of the time I have to say, "I have no idea. I didn't even know that I was looking at my phone." It's just sitting there, and there's these like waves that came out from my phone and said, "Look at me." And so I open it up, and I look at it. I'm telling you, pay attention. Pay attention to your spouse. Pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to the people around you. You will see people doing this all the time. It's not just me. I promise you. What's that? I think I do need an intervention. I certainly do. So we're going to go through, we're going to look at 4 areas where I think this is kind of important. So I'm not saying that technology doesn't have massive amounts of benefits. I think, yeah, I'm keeping this here. It might ding. No dings. I'm not saying that this doesn't have benefits. Like, one great example of it is Shirley Hyatt wears a watch, and it saved her life. It told her to go to the hospital. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, it almost made me consider getting one of those. But I don't wear any jewelry, not even my wedding ring. I just don't like things on me. So technology has tons of benefits to it. I've listed a bajillion of them. It makes the impossible possible. You can do things faster. You can do things more efficiently. You can do things cheaper. You can do things safer. They preserve relationships. They create relationships. They enable opportunities. They provide understanding. There's just way too many things to list that just this does. And not even talking about the rest of technology. There's tons of great things that it does, but you can't say that it doesn't have downsides to it as well. And I'll give you an example, and this is, I'm just going to be honest. And you just look at the porn industry since these things came into existence, since the internet came into existence. And at every point, what you're going to see is this massive spike in the porn industry. Do you know how hard I had to work when I was Cohen's age to see one picture of one naked woman? He can open this up, and it is all there. It's all there. He doesn't have to work hard at all. It's all right there. So, I mean, you can... Lorraine's laughing at me. It's true. It's true. I didn't grow up with the internet. And so, it was a lot harder. But now, he has access to all of it. If you take that a step further, if you think about how he's being desensitized to what he's seeing, because he can see, hopefully he's not seeing. We try and keep very close monitor on his electronics, but yeah, you can find ways around those controls too. But even things that qualify under the controls would be considered like light porn when I was a kid. Like, just watching, not this year's Super Bowl show because she was pregnant, but to just watch any other Super Bowl show. And I didn't get to see those things when I was a kid. I knew you should have moved. Sitting right in front. Yeah. So, but it's hot in here. No, but honestly, if you think about the toll that it will take on this generation, and how they are really being overstimulated in the realm of what they're seeing sexually. By the time they get to the point where they're in their mid-20s, I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, so I mean, you can't say that there aren't bad things to this boom in technology. Certainly there are. That's a pretty easy one. But I want to look at 4 kind of pitfalls that I think people fall into in different degrees. This is the one that's a little more theoretical rather than practical. But you've got the idea of our whole life is being optimized. Now, if I were to say, like, our whole life is being sanctified, what kind of language am I using when I say sanctified? What kind of language is that? It's religious language. What kind of language is optimized? It's technology. It's all technology language. The only thing you ever talked about being optimized was your computer or your car or any part of technology that we're going to optimize this. And so what we've done is we've moved this language into the realm of human beings. Now, what kinds of things do we want to optimize? Have you heard people talk about optimizing things in their life? What kind of things are they?
Their houses. I mean, on Pinterest, there are women competing to have the fanciest, most, and they put these artificial pictures, that look so gorgeous, and there's 3 stacks of laundry behind them when they're taking the picture. And so everybody's competing to have the most fancy house and the cutest kids and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what else?
In the business world, they're trying to optimize productivity and,
Productivity.
getting more work out of the people they have.
How can we get more work out of you? There's an interesting thing that businesses are doing. They're giving you Fitbits as a way of promoting health. But it's really just as a way of optimizing their employees. How can I get more work out of you? I know that if you're fit, that you'll have more energy to work. Optimization is really a guilt management system of what do we do with our technological equipment we now apply to human beings. So we're optimizing our time, we're optimizing our finances, we're optimizing our bodies, we're optimizing our relationships. We even optimize churches. And I'll give you a really good example of this that actually comes from this book so that you know it's not just me, because I talk about this too. But he brings it up in this book. He says, in a relevant article on the so-called virtue of efficiency in the church, some theologian lamented the rise of Protestant churches of following intinction-only policy during the celebration of communion. Now, so what he's saying is a lot of churches are doing intinction only as a way of receiving the Lord's Supper. And why would they do that?
Faster.
It's faster. Yep. And so, but he's going to go on and he's going to say, when they do this, they are claiming to the congregation that it is because of hygiene and health. But when you really get behind the scenes and you really sit down with them and you ask them, and they did this, really what's behind it is it's faster. How can we make the service faster? How can we make the service where people come, they get exactly what they need, and then they're gone? How do we McDonald's the church? Get them in, get them out, keep going. And so we're doing this in all these areas, trying to optimize our time, our fitness, our bodies. We view human beings as machines that all we need is to be optimized. We can make you better if we just kind of optimize these areas in your life. So he's gonna give a couple examples of this. Just the way that you talk about human beings, when human beings say, well, that's just the way that I'm wired. Or when we talk about the brain as a computer. or we talk about our bodies as hardware and our emotions as software. And you know, there are whole books on this about getting the most out of your software. And they're not talking about like computer software. They're talking about your personalities, your emotions, all that sort of thing. So, you know, what we're doing is we're comparing, we're taking what we did with machines, and we said, well, we can make this machine way better by doing this. Can we make human beings way better by doing this? Can we optimize their life to the point that they become what we want them to be? So we begin to see ourselves as glorified androids, and the solution to our problem as an upgrading of the system. All I've got to do is upgrade what I'm doing. Now, people, that sounds weird, but we do this all the time. This is like the foundation of self-help books. All I've got to do is figure out how to control my emotions, or figure out how to control my kids, or figure out how to organize my house, and then that will optimize my life so that I can live into my potential. We do this all the time. So some of you are looking at me like I'm crazy. But the self-help section of Barnes & Noble or any other book is any other bookstore is one of the most frequent sections. It's the place in the store where everybody's going, because everybody's trying to figure out, how do I optimize my life? Now, they may not use that language, but the idea behind it is the same thing. And so it becomes, I don't know if you're familiar with that idea, techno-solutionism or transhumanism. It's the idea that humanity is attempting to overcome its limitations through technology, and technology becomes salvation. There are lots of movies like that. And they make movies like that because people like it. People watch them. Tom?
We've been using technology since we stopped using sleds and somebody invented a wheel. I mean,
Yep.
this has been going on since caveman. It had nothing to do with technology.
But not in your hand. And so, yeah, I mean, what we're talking about, I mean, at some point the wheel was technology. Yes. But what we're talking about here is I think you can say that, but I think you can also say that there has been a ratcheting up of technology to a level that we've never seen before. And I think that that's pretty fair. Like, to a level that you can't keep up with it. I can't keep up with it. Mark comes in here and he tells me I can do. Deanna and I were using flash drives, and we were passing them back and forth, and I thought that that was the latest technology. That we were like, that we were.
I know.
No, it was a couple of years ago at this point, but at the time I thought, you know, we're putting it on this little thing this big, and then she can give it to me. I can put it in my computer, and whatever she had pops right up. And then Mark's like, have you ever heard of a shared folder? And I'm like, no. You goofball. There's no such thing as a shared folder in some weird random cloud. There is. And I haven't used a flash drive since. Mark laughs at me like, in fact, I play jokes on him. Sometimes I'll bring him a floppy disk. Somebody had a hand up. Jim? What's that?
I said, come on over. I can show you how to use that too.
I'm sure you can. And my VCR and my 8-track. Billy?
All this is what it's really trying to do is to replace thinking. We don't have to think anymore if we have somebody doing it for us.
Yeah, and you know, primarily what you're buying into is a technological program that will fix whatever you can't fix in your life. Whatever's fallen apart, there's some solution for that. Kent?
I hate to break this to you, but Al's coming, where the computer itself will function on its own without a human.
Yeah.
That's coming, and Einstein warned us about that.
Yeah, that's scary. You're going to wish that we were passing back flash drives. This is more theory than the rest of it, but I want to get into because I only got a couple more minutes, but I want to get into the practical kind of aspects of this. So the first aspect is technology as information. And what we do is there's so much information out there that you all can't process it. There's too much information to process. And when I say that, you're immediately going to think of like the news. And I don't want you to think of the news. I want you to think of on an even smaller scale and try to wrap your mind around that. Don't go to the news, but go to this. Just think about Susie next door, okay? You got Susie? All right. Now, what did she eat today? She's got pictures on Facebook. She just told you what she ate today. How far did she run? It's on Facebook. Where did she run? It's on Facebook. What event is she interested in going to? It's on Facebook. That's just Susie next door. Now, what happens when you don't click like? What happens to poor Susie when she started here and she ran all this way and then she downloaded this little app thing and then she put it on Facebook. She went through all this effort and you saw it and you didn't click on it. You didn't affirm her. So what happens to poor Susie at that point? She gets sad, doesn't she? And you're the bad guy, right? Because you didn't like it.
And that's why no one can find therapists to go to.
Yeah, I know, because they're all booked. Because I only got 3 likes and I ran 8 miles today.
Well, not only that, but they're telling you where they're going. They're not home, or
Yeah, it's
parents
really
aren't home,
Yeah.
or, so then the wrong people can get the information.
It's kind of like, not a political statement, but I just found it funny. At one point, they were putting lights on their house to say that we're a gun-free house.
Yes.
Oh, that just sounds like the dumbest idea I've ever heard of.
Come on over.
Come get me.
Come get me.
Why don't you get another one that says we don't have dogs either?
We have to lock our doors.
Yeah. That might be a better way to communicate that.
He's under the 3rd stone to the left.
Yeah. But, I mean, think about the mass amounts of information that you are receiving on a daily basis. Not the news. These are the people around you. And you're given all this information to the point that you can't even process it. So the question is, though, why is it posted? Why is Susie posting her run? Okay, does anybody do this? Does anybody do, yeah, that's the same thing. Yes, it's the same thing. I knew I would hit you. All right, so why is this stuff being posted? Look at me, okay. Look at me in more detail. What did I eat? What did she eat today? I eat healthy and expensive food. Look at my picture. Does anybody take a picture when they go to Denny's? We do too, 192. And Billy and Carol will tell you for days not to go there. All right, So when we take this picture, oftentimes it's a really healthy food or really fancy food. And what's being communicated there is I spend a lot of money on meals or I eat really, really healthy. What's being communicated when they post, how far they run? I care about my body. Do you? Okay, clearly I don't. But I don't post my runs either. Because nobody's like, 0.2 miles, way to go.
I did that the other day. I said half of my 10,000 steps was walking back and forth around my bed to make it.
I stand corrected, Ken.
To make her bed.
Some people will even post that. She made it really happy. All right, where did she run? Basically telling you, look how far I can run. Can you run that far? Nope. What event is she interested in? These are the kinds of things I like. Are you interested in these things? It essentially communicates a whole lot about the person, but they're also asking you, do you do these things? And let's say you're me, okay? You can make fun of me. I am right now riding my bike 16 miles a day, so this weight that I have is temporary. So you can make fun of me. Let's say that I'm reading somebody's post, and they just did their run 8 miles, and I'm sitting on the couch eating donuts. How do I feel? Smart. I mean, generally, it gives you this idea of I should be doing that. I'm not doing that because I'm lazy, fat, and any other thing that we throw out there. But it does. It makes you feel bad. And there's a huge articles on what Facebook, when people spend large amounts of time on Facebook, what happens to them is they get depressed. Because what you're doing is you're actually looking at everybody's high points in their life. Yeah. And then you're comparing it with your real life. Nobody's posting like, did 3 loads of laundry today. Like, they're posting the high points of their life. And you're reading it and you're going through and you're like, well, my life's not like that. I didn't go to this place. I'm not doing these things. I'm not eating at this place. And it has the effect of depressing people rather than lifting them up. I'm not saying everybody, but for a large segment of society, it has that effect on them. And what it communicates is that I am valuable. This is my value. And how can I communicate my value to the world? I'm going to use this technology that is right here, and I can communicate it to you, and you'll know that I'm valuable. But what it also communicates to you is that if you don't do these things, then you're not as valuable as I am. I have value. You don't quite have value. You could if you followed me, but you don't. Billy.
If you drop a donut and pick it up, you get credit for a squat.
Squat.
As long as you don't eat the donut.
5-second rule.
Oh, yeah.
You get credit for the squat.
Well, this is also causing a lot of the teen suicide.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a huge contributing factor to teen suicide.
And,
Instagram and Snapchat and all that kind of stuff more than
Yeah,
Facebook.
because
Because the Facebook has become more our generation.
yeah, no,
Right.
they don't even use Facebook.
no, they
Um,
don't.
Yeah.
So
Because we're on Facebook, they don't want to be on Facebook.
Yeah, right.
they abandoned it as soon as Grandma
What
got
are they?
home.
As soon as Grandma gets to it.
But are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
Just in case you missed it.
You get those all the time, yeah?
Yeah.
What does that communicate?
You aren't
Yeah, you
as
weren't
cool
paying
as I
attention.
am.
so,
I didn't miss it.
yeah.
And I'm going to make sure that you know that I didn't miss it. I'm going to send it to you so that you have it too.
And I know the cool initials too.
To be honest with you, I didn't know that until I read this.
I didn't know either.
I thought it was some kind of.
I am very much out of social media touch. I go to Cohen for everything. All right, so the third thing is distraction. Okay, so we use the internet as information, and we give information through the internet to everybody around us. They communicate certain things about us. It unintentionally communicates things about you when you're sitting there reading it as well. We also use the internet and technology as distraction. And what we do with it is we have this kind of preoccupation with being stimulated all the time. I have to be stimulated. I have to have something going on. And I don't know, because I have a very small sample size, but I believe that the generations coming up, based on the two that I have, need far more stimulation than I needed. And I needed far more stimulation than my parents needed. And so, and much of it is because this is stimulating us all the time. Every single ding is like this jolt of dopamine that goes through your system. And they've done massive studies on this. So it's not just me. You can look them up, you can read them, you can see what happens to the body when your phone dings internally. You don't even know that it's happening. But it's this massive rush of dopamine that goes through your body because you're being stimulated at that point. And so what happens is that we're oversaturated with stimulation. We don't know how to handle boredom.
That's my grandchild on a boat on the Seine looking at her phone.
Yeah, this is it's what we do. We could be in the most beautiful place, and we're going to have our phone. We're just going to be like this. Yeah. Now, if you pull out your phone to take a picture, I get it. But if you're pulling out your phone to scroll, I don't get it. They've actually, you can see younger generations will be together, texting each other, in the same room, texting each other. Cohen tried that with me once. Yeah, we're not doing that. That's ridiculous. Brett?
This is a huge problem in schools. When I was teaching high school, you can't go into your classroom in high school anymore and put up a PowerPoint and try and teach those kids. They will, boom, they're done. They want to be entertained. They have to have what you're talking about, some kind of stimulation, you know, I don't know, it's a music in there with your PowerPoint or whatever it is. You've got to almost entertain them to get their attention.
Yeah.
And it's a huge problem.
Like I said, I started doing YouTube videos with Cohen, and behind me is a bunch of, expensive cards that we collected over the years, and I have them on display. No, they're Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They're just, it's a card game like Magic or Pokemon. But it's not enough. So you have to buy these RGB lights that like move back and forth, because my audience is 20 to 35. And they can't sit there and just listen to there has to be this stimulation that's going on, and it gets worse as you go down, because the further you go down, the more attached to these things that they've become, the more stimulated they are continuously, and so it creates a real issue that, as Britt's bringing up, in schools when you're just trying to sit down and actually communicate with them. But we have all this stimulation going on that's taking place. It's the same thing that is taking place with sex and drugs and alcohol. I have to do whatever I can to not find myself in this state of, I don't know, there's nothing. Like, I have to have something happen. I have to be high, I have to be drunk, I have to be having sex, I have to be on TikTok. It's the same animal that controls all of those. It's the same dysfunction that's taking place. And so when you move on from there, we flee from boredom, because boredom will actually force you to spend time with yourself, which is the last thing that we want to do. Like the real self, the real you in reality, not the Facebook one, not the Instagram one, not the church one, the real one. The real you have to be face to face with. And this has to be closed to do that. Then when it's closed and when everything's turned off, you're forced to do that. And we'll flee from that with everything that we have. We do not want to be in that place. And so screens distract us from the pain of my life isn't enough, the pain of the broken world around us, the pain of the fear that we have, the hurt, whatever it is that we have, and all of us have something. You can sit here and say, well, I don't have anything. You do. Whatever it is, that thing that's difficult for you, when you find yourself just by yourself, without this, without music, without crazy lights going on, then you have to wrestle with it. And what we'll do is we use screens to distract us so we don't have to think about it. I'm gonna do Wordle, or I'm gonna, whatever it is, and I'm just picking on Kay because it's fun. But whatever it is, we'll use that to distract ourselves so that we don't have to actually deal with the hurt and the brokenness around us. And all of us have it. So the last one is the affirmation piece. And this is the piece where every ding is an affirmation. Every ding is a positive. Every ding is somebody is saying that you have value, meaning, and worth. Why do I flip this open every ding? Because I need that. I need the machine to tell me that I have meaning, value, and purpose. At least that's what we use it for. So when you post something on Facebook and you go back and you look at it, and I'm not going to ask you, I'm just going to shoot the question, you don't have to, don't answer it. Do you gauge how many likes you have?
I forget to look.
Well, I don't put anything on Facebook.
If you do not gauge how many likes you have, then I am looking at the 2%. And I highly doubt.
Are you saying gauge as in measure, or are you just, I got a lot of likes, or I didn't. But it doesn't mean anything to me if I'm gauging my life on it. Because
well, no, certain people are going to put more stock in that than other people.
Saying, yeah.
But all of us are going to put some measure of stock in how many likes we got.
Okay.
Jim?
If you're looking, Kay, you care.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
If you're looking, you care. I mean, you wouldn't look otherwise.
Curiosity, does that mean care?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, it may not be that, there are some that are, they'll post something, they think they look really pretty, they'll post a picture of themselves, they get 2 likes, maybe even a couple people make rude comments, and now they want to end it all. And I'm not saying that we are there, but I am saying that there is some measure of I've been affirmed by this post, or I've not been affirmed by this post. I'm very disappointed in the amount of likes that I got. I think that that's quite natural and normal.
And that wasn't the point I was trying to make, that she puts that much weight in it. It's just that if you are curious, then you obviously care.
Yeah, no, I was following up on your point, just extending it.
Yeah.
I think your point was well received.
Yeah.
But all of this stuff, the subscribe, the like, the follow me, Be my friend.
From the pulpit, you say, please subscribe and like our channel and make a comment.
I have fully stated at the very beginning of this, I am a slave to this, and those dings, they matter to me. They matter. They matter to me. And so I'm not going to hide from that. It is true. And you can see this playing out in, I don't know if you know, but what do you think the hardest day of the week is for clergy?
Monday.
Monday. Why Monday?
You're
coming
worn
down
out
from your
for
mountain.
starters.
Well, for some clergy, you're coming down from your mountain, right? Okay. For other clergy, what?
No attention.
Another week.
Start over again. Nobody seemed to have, you didn't seem to do any good on Sunday. You didn't get any affirmation on Sunday.
Yeah, you're spending a day wrestling with what took place on Sunday and all of the bad stuff. It's the same thing. So if we show up to church, let's say on Sunday, we show up to church. We have church. Oh, this is even better. Terry Highland was here 2 weeks ago. How many people were at their right to? Yeah? No. Yeah, you probably all were there. I think there were 79 people at the Right To service, yeah? 69? 69 people, okay? Now, as a priest, I come back. There's 50. There's 50 last week. There's 50 people there last week. Now, I can take that, I can internalize it, and I can say,
Just in church because we went to church and we had no idea Terry Highland was going to be there.
But it's just it's a funny example because that's what clergy do. What clergy do is if a lot of people show up, then Monday we're coming down from the high, and we hit the bottom, and it's hard. But if there's not a lot of people there, then we're internalizing everything that took place. They don't like me. They won't come. I put all this effort in, and they won't show up. And it's all about me. It becomes all about me. You're not attending because of me. Now, it could be that you were on vacation. It could be that you were sick. It doesn't matter. I'm going to internalize it as it's all me. They're not showing up because of me. And that's what clergy do. It's the same thing on Facebook. When we don't get a lot of likes, they don't like me. They're not happy with me. It's quite possible that they didn't see your post. It's quite possible that they never like any post.
Right.
I never like any post.
I don't ever like it.
Lorraine.
What you're telling us is Monday, we're all going to get on our phones and we're going to say,
Great job!
Make sure you email him or text
I
him.
won't answer. No, you got to send me a ding.
We'll call Deanna and tell her.
It's got a ding. Anyways, I do think a lot of our technology has potential pitfalls of distraction that's not healthy, of this false affirmation that is not healthy, of I can't remember what the first one was. What was the anyways,
You were dehumanizing yourself to be,
Transhumanization.
yeah. I do think that there are a lot of dangers, and you can simply look at how you use this device and the ways that you your own kind of system, and you can monitor, you can look at it, and you can say, yeah, that's too much. And I actually have to take this. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I do not bring this over to church when I do church services. It never leaves my office. And there's a reason for that, and it's that I'm not self-disciplined enough. So if I don't leave it there, I won't do it during the service. But between the services, I will definitely do that. And in the parish hall in the reception afterwards, when I'm walking around, did that ding? Yep. Yeah, it did ding. Yep. So I leave it in my office and I don't touch it until all the services are done. Okay.
Tonight, our subject is seculosity, right? Are we aiming at affirmation and this and this and this, or are we aiming at internet? What is the subject tonight?
You're aiming at value. Where do I find value?
I know that, but what is where are the
Technology.
We've had it like your children and all that stuff today. Technology.
Today's
okay,
technology.
it's not all your number 4 things there.
All these are 4 areas under the umbrella of technology.
We were getting so wide there. I was getting a little lost.
So that's pretty much all that I've got. But questions, comments, concerns?
There are positive things
About the internet.
Yeah, I listed a whole mess of them.
But one of the things you really didn't talk about at all, which is I live alone, and a lot of there, and I'm not by far not the only one in the church that lives alone, and so
Social life.
it helps me stay in touch with my kids, stay in touch with my friends, and my watch that you're making fun of has an SOS that if I fall, it's going to call for help.
Yep.
I won't lie there and bleed to death by myself because I've got that technology.
You mean
There's a car
it
crash.
enables us to do things safer?
Yeah.
Yes, it preserves relationships.
It keeps relationships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that good.
It does all of those things. These things are amazing.
Yeah.
Like the most amazing thing ever. That doesn't mean that they don't have dangers
I think
attached to them.
Christianity is supposed to be the most amazing thing.
This is the most amazing thing made by human beings.
Oh, no.
It really is. I would trade my car for this thing.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, if you had a car like Bill has.
In many ways, if you're in the working field today, if you're out there working, if you're a young person working, you are never away from your job anymore. I watch this with my son, and my daughter-in-law is a teacher. The parents are constantly sending emails and
Yeah,
texts.
I had that on
It's
here. I
just
took it
awful.
off. But what this did was it made it so that we could receive emails from our bed. But what it also did was it created the expectation that we would receive emails from our bed.
And reply to them.
And reply.
Yeah. So actually work from our bed. So it's not just that you can do it if you need to, but because you can, now the expectation is you will. And to be honest, just 100% honesty, there have been more than this many occasions that I have sent Deanna a text at 9 o'clock at night. Can you do this?
Yeah.
I know she can. I know she can. I'm sending it to her with the expectation that because I know you can, will you? Now, to be honest, in 10 years, I've probably only done that to her about 8 to 10 times, and most of them were COVID-related emergencies, and I try never to do that to her. In fact, my wife schedules emails to send to Deanna, and I would encourage you to do this as well. My wife schedules emails to send to Deanna because that woman always reads her emails and always answers her phone. So if you call her, she will answer. If you email her, she will answer. And I do not want her working on Saturdays and Sundays, except when I absolutely need her to. Carol.
Yeah, being as the Bible, Daniel chapter 12 has a verse in there, a message that says in latter days, the increase of knowledge will have people running to and fro.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
Boy, that Daniel knew what he was talking.
The devil's phone. That Daniel. Karen, you're just in time. We're just starting, actually. Yeah. If there's not any other, I mean, you all are free to come whenever you want. But, if there's no questions, we can round this out. All right, it's been fun.
Sorry.
I will see you on Sunday unless you want me to be depressed.
Yeah, we don't want you depressed.
That's crazy. Your granddaughter is on a ship to Paris.
Oh, all the teenagers were like that. We were going through Paris, we were going, walking through Monet's garden, Sugar Day, they had their cones and they're on their